It's all about memory. The memory of a moment you spent together, a place, a scent, a touch. The kind of memory that no picture, no film, or any recorded image can capture. And you'll do anything to keep or retain this memory, anything. They're talking about stages or steps. They say you heal eventually. They tell you time does it all, but they don't know. They don't know anything about that very moment that will eventually fade away, that connection that no word or image can recount. The two of you together, the memory of your touch, of your embrace. How do you grieve? How do you mourn the loss of someone you loved? Bonjour, David Cronenberg.
Bonjour.
How much is there of yourself, of your personal life in this movie, The Shrouds?
Well, I would say in The Shrouds, there's more of my personal life than probably any other movie that I've made. There was some of it in The Brood, the movie I made many years ago. But The Shrouds really was induced by events in my life, the death of my wife. I can't say that making the movie was exactly an attempt to minimize the grief that I felt at my wife's death, because I don't really think of art as therapy. I don't think that works. For me, the grief is forever. You're going to suffer. There's no way out of it. You have to accept that. But it is an attempt, as all art, is a way to involve yourself in the dynamics of your life and of the world, to play with it. There's a lot of play in even a movie that is very dark. There's still a lot of, well, for me, humor and laughter and absurdity. And so it's dealing with the human condition, and particularly with my human condition, my version of it.
Now, what's pretty interesting is the way you make grief universal, of course. And in the movie, how you reflect on yesterday, today, and tomorrow's anthropology. How do you feel people will deal with grief in the future, David?
There are so many considerations in terms of death and burial and grief. It varies from culture to culture. And there's a universal aspect to it, because you cannot live very long without experiencing grief. So it's an innate part of the human condition. You can't live without grief. What is the function of it? It's an interesting question. But I think it will continue to evolve as an experience, as a part of what it is to be human, and it will always be part of the human condition.
I always wonder when I watch a movie of yours, what in your opinion makes us alive, David?
Really, to me, the meaning of life, because so much of religion and philosophy is to try to find a meaning to what human existence, a meaning for life. And if you're me, there is a sense in which there is no meaning to life. For me, the meaning of life is life itself. The amazing existence of life in all its forms, to me, it's like an accident of the universe. It didn't have to happen. So it is miraculous, and it is its own meaning. That's it. The meaning of life is life.
As for you, what nourishes your imagination, your creativity?
I've often been asked what it takes to get me out of bed in the morning, and I say breakfast.
You were, at first, an aspiring writer, before you even wrote some novels, David, weren't you?
I was always writing as a child, and I was also doing cartoons and drawing, but I was always writing, really, from very early age.
So what kind of accident made you a filmmaker?
I really thought I would be a writer, as my father was, and I thought I would be a novelist. But of course, I never thought of myself as a filmmaker. That seemed to come from somewhere else, maybe from Hollywood, maybe from Europe, not from Canada. And when I have written a novel called Consumed, and when I wrote it, finally, after 50 years of thinking I would be a writer, I didn't write my first novel till 50 years later, I realized that I was, in a way, directing a movie, because in writing, you're casting it, the characters. You are dressing them, their costumes. You are creating the lighting. Is it dark? Is it bright? Is it light? Is it day or night? And so in a way, writing a novel was a lot more like directing than I ever thought it would be. It was a surprise to me.
How did the body become your main philosophical and artistic subject?
Well, for me, you see, if you're not thinking of an afterlife where you are a spirit and you're disembodied, then it is obvious to you that body is reality. And I even say that in my last film, Crimes of the Future, there's a logo that says body is reality.
The ultimate reality.
Body is the ultimate reality. It is our reality, and it is our fate to be a body. So to me, it's completely natural to be, as a filmmaker, obsessed with the body. What is it that you film? You're filming people's faces mostly, and their bodies. And it's so filmmaking, even more than writing, is all about bodies. And actors are, as they must be, obsessed with their own bodies because that's their instrument, their very direct instrument. As a director, I am obsessed with the actors' bodies as well because they are my material for making my films. So to me, the so-called body horror of my films, now that's a term I've never used. This is imposed on me by some journalist, some critic, body horror, and it has stuck. But to me, the body is wonderful. It's beautiful. It's even as we say in my movie Dead Ringers, one of the twins there says, "Why is there not a beauty contest for the insides of bodies? You know, the most beautiful liver, the most beautiful spleen. You know, because it's all quite amazing and all quite beautiful."
This reflection about bodies is pretty interesting, especially nowadays. How much are we disembodied today, David?
I think there's a lot of the element of disembodiment these days because of screens, because of cell phones, and in particular because of cell phones. And this discussion of artificial intelligence, it's really the crucial element that's missing, that is seeming not to be understood, is the body. The computers that generate artificial intelligence, they are disembodied. And all information, all intelligence, all human interaction needs a body. So despite the masses of information that are used to create artificial intelligence, what is missing is the computer's ability to be a person in the world. So I think that's a limitation that will always be there with artificial intelligence. It doesn't mean that it's not phenomenally useful and could be quite startling in its mimicking of being human. But for it to actually be a certain kind of threat, until it's embodied, it cannot be.
To what extent do you think we could possibly disappear into a screen?
No, I think that's been a long time fantasy. There have been many science fiction movies and television that I can remember as a child. The attempt to transfer a human being's brain, either physically as a brain or as computed intelligence and information, into a computer, so that the person will still be alive after their body died. And of course, it never works. Usually, dramatically, it never works, and in practice, it also can never work, really.
It's a major question in the Shrouds, of course, what you just said. But there is, in your movie, the beauty of a touch that is everywhere, in my opinion. What is for you the beauty of touch?
Well, I was just thinking as I had my makeup put on, and I was suddenly having my face touched by somebody who I did not know. And it's really quite stunning. I mean, if you pay attention to it, it's really quite forceful and has great emotional impact, even if it's just touch. And that is what we are as humans. I mean, and what is the threat of this disembodiment that you mentioned? Because no matter how many texts you send, and how many photos and how many videos, you are not being touched. There's not physical interaction, and that we are really evolved for that to be hugely important. A child who is never touched, who is raised in say, an orphanage or something, there have been many studies done. It's a hugely handicapped child that develops into a hugely limited person without the connection, human connection that touch brings to us. So once again, disembodiment, that can be a threat to human development.
Is that something you can remember, a touch, and embrace?
Oh yes, I mean, of course. And that's why in the Shrouds, the grief that the main character feels is all about the body. It's the loss of his wife's body. He says, I lived in that body. That body was life to me, and it's gone now. And so it's more than, it's like an amputation of a part of your own body. And so that's why he develops this strange techno cemetery, which will allow him to at least monitor his wife after she's dead.
Would you say cinema, David, has to do maybe even more than any other art with desire?
I wouldn't say that cinema has a unique handle on desire. Sculptures, hieroglyphics in a cave thousands of years ago, you can see it right there. Human desire for life, hunger for life, for sexuality, for love, that's always been there. So I think every art form in some way is expressing desire, human desire.
What about paranoia that you talk about in the Shrouds? Where does it come from for you?
In my film, it's a grief strategy. It's a way of dealing with grief. And I think paranoia in the world in general is a strategy to empower those who are paranoid. If you are someone who really has some godlike understanding of how the world works that other people don't have, and it empowers you. Even if you are a person who in real life is quite powerless, you can still have some power if you can say, I know what's going on and you don't. And so I think that's what paranoia is. Of course, there is also paranoia that is completely justified. That not all paranoia is a fantasy. And in that case, it's a strategy for survival. It's like an animal in the woods, always feeling that the wolf is quite close, because sometimes the wolf is quite close.
Is there, as envisaged in the Shrouds, the possibility of a humanist technology? I like this expression.
Well, I've said this many times. There used to be a science fiction in which technology was always alien and dangerous and inhuman. And I've never felt that technology was in any way inhuman. It's completely innately human. It starts with the extension of the body, that a club or a weapon of some kind is an extension of the human fist, of the hand, and extension of hearing, extension of vision. So technology comes really, once again, from the human body, the human nervous system, and evolves in amazing ways, but it's always a reflection of us. So technology, to me, is always human. It can be a reflection of the bad, dangerous parts of ourselves, as well as the wonderful parts of ourselves. But it's always human.
So to quote another line from the movie, which is actually a question, what can guarantee the world a livable future?
I don't think there's any guarantee of any kind of future for the world. It has to be created by human consensus, which is something that's obviously very difficult. I'm talking about a human world. There might be a world where there are no humans. That's very possible. But when we think of the future, we are obviously thinking of the future of humankind. We have no guarantees. There are no guarantees.
And what about the past? Because we always talk about future with you, but what about the past? What does the past mean to you as an artist?
Well, the past is always alive, and it's actually always present, I think. But it's different for we have the lived past, which is our actual experience of our physical past as a child, as a growing adult, and so on. But there's also the non-specific past, which is the past of literature, of art, of history as we understand it, of architecture, of archaeology, the human past that is not specific to me. And it's the foundation of the future. I mean, you can't have a future without a past.
I guess I'm asking the next question to the director, but also to the spectator, to the movie lover. What makes a great movie for you?
There's no rules about what makes a great movie. First of all, it's very specific. A great movie to one person is inconsequential to somebody else. I don't have a rule for what a great film is, and in fact, a film that shows you a different kind of greatness than you ever imagined in terms of the way that it touches you or surprises you or intellectually stimulates you. You always are looking for that. You're looking for a film that you've never seen before, something you've never seen before. And that means I never go into a film thinking, will this be a great film and how it might be great?
But you were talking about meaning, the quest of meaning that we have. And I'm wondering, how can art, for you, be a response to this need we all share to find a meaning to our existence?
I can only say that when fans come up to me and say that they literally sometimes say that my films changed their lives, which is a terrifying thing. That's a big responsibility for a filmmaker. But it's very exciting too, because it means that film has touched them and revealed to them something about the possibility of life or the possibility of their own life, something about themselves. And that's in a way, that's something that you want when you're a filmmaker, something that perhaps it's your real purpose in making a film.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much. This is very entertaining.